Good afternoon, hello, welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. My name is Daniel, this is George behind me from George Fox Cycling Solutions, and he's got two of my bikes in front of him. This is my Felt IA, I've had this for 3 years now, raced on it a lot, but I bought a new bike, or a new frame at least, and it's in George's hands there, a Trek Speed Concept rim brake. Now I'm currently going through the motions of what do I build this up like, what parts do I use, but I'm a bit like the blind leading the short-sighted in honesty, so I thought I'd get George's opinion about what parts should I swap over from this bike, what parts should I bin off and change for this with speed in mind. George, I want this bike to be fast, all right?
That's exactly what I want.
Which is difficult with me riding it, but let's get stuck in.
Okay, so
firstly, it needs to be blue, doesn't it?
Well, obviously it needs to be blue. That's the first thing, always. I think the first thing from my perspective is obviously with the Felt, we've got a non-UCI frame, right? So the Trek is obviously a UCI legal frame.
Oh, I can ride the world champs now then, finally.
Exactly. So yeah, when you get the call up, it's all sorted. So obviously this was kind of made as more of an out-and-out time trial bike, but something that could also be used on the World Tour. Renowned as one of the fastest frames as well. It was rapid and still is. It takes a lot in a frame to beat this. Just the actual frame shape itself. From a bike fit perspective, I was never that keen on the front end. It was good because it had built-in adjustability, but it was always a little bit limiting, just in terms of reach. And so you had to change the stem and everything, which got really expensive because they're specialist parts. Now, obviously, what you've got on this is a slightly different front end. Normally it would have a bridge on here. What you've got is the watch shop adapter for the watch shop bars, which not only means that you've got angle built in on the frame here, so we can angle this whole thing, you've also then got angle built in with these adapters. So in terms of getting the perfect fit, you'll be able to do almost whatever you want with it, which is awesome. I know obviously we've spoken about different stem lengths and heights already as well, which means that on the whole we should be able to do exactly what we want. So when we compare that to the Felt, you've had to spend quite a lot on the parts for this to make it so that actually you can get somewhere near the position that you wanted from it. Which is fine. Obviously, it's a process that you've gone through and we've kind of reached this point. But now it's a case of, okay, if we're changing bike, let's look at the position, let's look at refining it even more. And if this was 95% because of the mechanics, does this enable us to get to that 100% of where we're absolutely perfectly happy? So that's the first thing in terms of the front end of it. The rest of it's quite similar really in terms of it's a bike frame, right? There's so little difference in terms of the aerodynamic side of it. Obviously the Trek still, you can put the storage on the back of it as well, which is obviously similar to the Felt. You still can't take your front mech hanger off if you're running one bike, so it's going to be the same on both of those. Again, we've obviously spoken about it before, but the bottom bracket side of it, be good to see a ceramic bottom bracket in it, just because we know something that we can optimize. In terms of what we take off the Felt to build this, I'd say wheels is the first thing. And now obviously we do need to look at things like clearance and make sure that everything can actually fit into it perfectly. So the shape of the disc wheel should be absolutely fine because it's a reasonably flat wheel. This frame doesn't actually fit a lot of the new lenticular wheels, just because of, if you look on the inside here, I think it was a cadence sensor they built into it, but this bulge actually catches on some certain disc wheels. So like the Cadex disc wheel, for example, doesn't fit, and the Roval...
That's built into the frame, isn't it?
That's exactly, and the Roval 321 actually doesn't fit either.
That's a shame, I was just about to drop £2.5 on
there you go, exactly. So it can be an expensive mistake, and obviously if you bought it new, you can send it back, but that's something that obviously we need to sort of take into consideration. Aero fairing on the bottom brake, we like that a lot, so this part of it isn't UCI legal, right? But that's fine. So I mean, you're not going to be doing that many UCI races, right? So we're not worried about that. Seat post. This is the layback seat post for this frame. This is something that when we look at the fit, we might need to look at this because, as you can see, it comes back quite a lot. They do an inline seat post as well, so we might have to look at that just purely based on where we end up with the fit. Obviously, we know it's a different size, so it's something that we might have to investigate. The good thing is that this frame's been out long enough now that we should be able to find most spare parts if we need it. Front end. Now would be a good time for you to upgrade handlebars, right? Now, the reason I say that is this setup is, like I've said, there's a lot of benefits to it. So we'd be silly to almost take that off and put a stock front end back on it. So I think really we probably want to start looking at the more integrated extensions. We can explore options with different brands and stuff as well and be cost effective with it. Obviously we've spoken about the Data Jet bars, which aren't as expensive as some of the other alternatives. But the flip side of that is we still need to consider what you're going to do with hydration. So it all comes back to kind of what you're actually using it for as well. Integrated front brake, it's really nice. Obviously, it's kind of similar to the felt in that respect. Still got the option to put top tube box on it, or bottle, depending on where we end up putting hydration. So yeah, in that respect, there's a lot of similarities between the two bikes. So it's now a case of saying, okay, wheels probably swap over, saddle will swap over, we just need to check the seat post. Front end is where we're going to get a lot of the aerodynamic benefit for you and also comfort. So this is where we're going to spend a lot of our time and effort. And maybe the only upgrade in terms of money that we want to spend probably is going to come here. Yeah. Gears will go straight over, depending on whether obviously it's staying on 11 speed, you've got no reason to really change that. We know jockey wheels, we're on stock on the SRAM on the felt, so that might be something that we look at changing, just from an optimization point of view.
The thing I like about SRAM is backwards compatible, so if I wanted to go to 12 speed, all I'd have to change is that rear mech.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's the nice thing. And obviously, there was a time initially where the original blip blocks didn't work with the new stuff, and then they realized that because they hadn't made any more, they needed them quickly. Yeah. So now everything's kind of compatible with each other.
Where would you put the blip box on that bike?
So you've got options. Because of the size of this, depending on what we end up doing with the stem, we might try and hide it somewhere here and be clever. If the cables are long enough, it might end up in here, if the cables are long enough, because obviously here, for example, if you had cables running down here, but it was taped to the frame, it's not costing you anything, and you might be able to hide it. So it might require a bit of drilling into parts that we add on.
Can't wait.
But yeah, that's not
what I did like about the felt is I managed to tuck it into the nose cone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing, is it's looking at what you've got, looking at how we can use it and making it so that it works for what you need it to. And obviously there are certain things that cross over between everybody's bikes in terms of let's try and hide as much stuff as possible. But you also still need to be able to use it, you need to be able to charge it, etc., etc.
If the choice was yours, what colour would you paint that frame?
Chrome blue. I'd go all out and make it offensive. And it'd be like the brightest bike in transition.
Good stuff. Thanks, George.
You're welcome.